Welcome to the Focus 3 podcast. Wherever you are and wherever you're listening, we're glad you've tuned in. My name is Tim Kight, and I'm here with my co-host, Coach Urban Meyer. Urban, great to see you, man.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Good to see you.
You've been all over. I've been all over. It's been challenging to get our mutual schedules together, but it's awesome to carve out this time. We want to talk about a topic today. You brought it up, Coach, about goal setting, hope, opportunity, and we've been discussing this. Fascinating. Tell me what's on your heart about this topic.
Yeah, this is the world I'm in right now. This has been a topic that I can't seem to shake. It's something that I've had time to now sit back and evaluate. I've talked to some of my dear friends about it that have been in leadership positions and are in leadership positions, and it's something I feel passionate about. I've probably talked about it 10 times in the last month, whether it be to our leadership class, to our Lead Like a Buckeye, which is all the captains of other sports, to corporate opportunities that I've been speaking at. And I just think in the 30,000-foot level, this is a game changer. This is if everybody really, I'm not saying we have the answers, but I really believe this is part of the answer, that societal issues that we're facing now, that when I was a young person, it wasn't there. It wasn't there. If it was, I didn't experience it. And you're talking about something called hope and opportunity is a term that I like to use, is that once that's extinguished, once a human being needs something to hold on to. For example, if I'm a Christian, I have to hold on to my faith. Once faith is taken from you, where do you go? And faith survives storms. Faith survives the bad things that happen. And if that's taken from you, we all know what happens. You know, back when I was a youngster, it was a bad day. Now people are taking their lives. Now this is a problem in America right now. And for 33 years, 35 years, whatever it was, I was in a classroom with 18 to 22-year-olds as a coach. And now that I stepped out, and I'm still in the classroom with actual classroom at Fisher School of Business, but then also all the 36 sports, and I just watch, learn, and I come up with some really good thoughts about it.
And we'll unpack those terms, hope and opportunity. What I hear you saying, and it certainly resonates with me as I'm out there with organizations and teams across the country, the people who wake up in the morning who have hope for something, have a vision for something, they have a passion and energy for something, and then they recognize the opportunity they're being given. And I think in particular, I want to talk about this. They have got leadership around them that's helping them and equipping them and fueling that journey. Those are the people that are doing the things they need to do to go achieve something significant in their lives.
Exactly.
Is that what you're talking about?
I am, and it's here's how strong I feel about this, that the definition of leadership that myself and you came up with, we got rid of the old and came up with a new one, just to refresh the viewer or the people listening, is the old one was set a standard, demand all live up to the standard. Mm-hmm. How shallow is that? I call that the 70s version. Now it's earn trust, which takes time in itself, and then with great clarity, set standards, and this is the buzzwords, equip and inspire those to live up to the standards. Mm-hmm. And so I've changed it. I really believe this, Tim, that the ultimate job of a leader is to provide hope and opportunity to the people you're leading. And that sounds, that's pretty black and white. However, when you start thinking of the complexities of what that really entails, that's real leadership. That's you want to have people in your organization believe in you. You provide them hope and opportunity. I never say anything about a $10,000 raise or a free shirt or a trip to Cancun. Those are all nice things if you do well. But how about ownership and love? How about the things that are the backbone of a human spirit and the backbone of inspiration? And I know we're going to get into inspiration versus motivation here in a minute too. So this is a powerful, powerful conversation. It's one that I can't stop thinking about 5, 6, 7 hours a day and taking notes on it. That's how passionate I am about it.
That's awesome. Well, let's dive into it. I think you're talking about the role of the leader to engage hearts and minds and to create hope and opportunity. Let's get to work. Urban, as you and I talked about this topic prior to turning on the recordings and do this podcast, I'm hearing you say that a part of this a big part, maybe the primary part of this from a leadership perspective, is a leader has a responsibility, a calling, if you will, to create an environment where everyone who works or plays within that context. And when we talk leadership with our podcast, we have 3 categories of leaders that follow us, and that would be coaches, teachers in schools, and managers and executives in business. Those are our 3 major audiences. And I think in all 3 of those domains, what I hear you saying is a great leader is someone who engages the hearts and minds of the people that they lead and equips them with skills and competencies to go have an effective life. Do the work that they're called to do today, whatever that particular is, the work in the school to learn, the work in the athletic program to achieve whatever they can athletically, but also in a business setting to do the daily work necessary to achieve what it is the company wants to achieve. But you're calling for a higher level of equipping. You're a deeper level of engagement, correct?
I am. And when you first got into coaching, when I first got into coaching, there really was not much money in the game. I think people get into coaching now because the financial rewards are incredible. But back when I did, it was all about, I've always had a passion for teams, for people, for human spirit. And that changed. I'm not proud of it, but it changed. When you start, I called it the 10-year sprint. And it was get a national championship. At what cost? All cost. Even, to the point where I'm missing family stuff and put your head down and go, that's my job description, I'm going to go get it. And that now that I remember when I had a really bad experience at Florida one time with a young athlete, which I'm going to share with you in a few minutes, but that changed. It was no longer just the 10-year sprint, but now I saw instead of number 78, 15, 42, I saw someone underneath that helmet as a human being. And it even changed drastically when my kids got into it and the recruiting. And that's when this whole Real Life Wednesday and this really hope and opportunity came about. So Tim, when I first got to Ohio State, I remember, and Dave was with us, we would have the 3 incoming athletes. I did it every year. I said, you guys understand? And this was what was happening then. I have 3 athletes. One is going to have a great experience. He's going to have a really good collegiate experience. I didn't say All-American and first-round draft pick, but he would mark off the box and say, that was awesome. There's another 33% of that group of kids that were average as dirt. 2.0 students that just survive, they would probably put average. And then you have 1/3 of them would disappear. And I don't mean I mean like gone. Like transfer, you never hear from them again. They'd flunk out of school, there'd be some issue, and they'd disappear. And I couldn't understand that. I would challenge my staff, myself, and say, we have to get this, we can't let this happen. These parents are giving us their kids, they're coming to an incredible place. We can't let those 1/3 of the kids disappear. And I finally started to figure out why would they disappear? It's because everybody comes with the American dream, whatever that may be, and you come to Ohio State, what's the American dream? I'm going to go play in the NFL.
Expectations.
Yeah, it's realistically, you're talking about a very small number are going to be able to support their families the rest of their life. I mean, when you're talking about small, Zeke Elliott's not normal. That's a very small number of people. And that's when this whole thing about we need to provide and inspire and equip these young people with something other than that and give them hope and opportunity. So that's where this thing really, I've been thinking about it nonstop. And I'm going to go and share a story and then turn it over to you. At Florida, this kid named Avery Atkins, incredible athlete, first-round draft pick talent, became very close with my daughters. They were little girls at the time, just had beautiful face and smiling all the time. And I'm talking first-round talent. And a great player, a great kid. He was doing fine in school. And he gets in a very bad relationship, very bad. The girl gets pregnant. It's a very toxic relationship. We're trying to work through it. And he does what he's not allowed to do. He pushes her. And the police come in, and I remember, it was not an allegation. It was actual happened. The police said he did do it. I got rid of him. There's zero tolerance. You're out. And that was so hard for my family and I. That was one of the first ones we ever had to do that. This is back in 2005, I believe. Yeah, 2005. We go on and win the national championship. The next year, he's off the team. He leaves the team and goes to Bethune-Cookman and plays. After 3 months there, he leaves, quits there. Because once again, this relationship, everything's a mess. And then finally, one of my coaches, Chuck Heater, goes to find the kid on a bye week because we love this guy. And we found out he was getting consumed by the streets. The streets were eating him alive. He finds him. His face is all scabbed up. He's beaten down. He remembers tackling him and putting him in a car with a seatbelt, takes him to his mother's house, mother, aunt, and grandmother. No men in his life. And he calls me, and Chuck Heater's crying on the phone, saying, we have to help this kid. And so, of course, what we tried to do, I meet with the AD, meet with the president, can we give this guy another chance? We're going to make him pay his own way. That January, I come down the steps, and he's driving by in his car, and I'm going for a jog, and I stop him. I jump in the car with him. I said, let's go drive for a little bit. So we drove for about 15 minutes. I always like to do that with players, to find out what's going on. You can step in someone's car and find out what's going on. And I look over him, and he's got tears rolling down his cheek. And I grab his arm. I said, Avery, we're going to be all right, man. Hang in there with us. Hang in there with us. And he goes, I'm trying, Coach. I'm trying. And so finally we finished the drive, and I get out of the car. I said, come back tomorrow. Let's go for another ride. I never see him again. That was the last time I saw Avery Atkins. 6 months later, he kills himself in drugs overdose. And for years, Tebow and I would talk about it every day. How did this happen? How in the world did this happen? Here's a guy that has it all. But then now that I'm older now and I realize what did happen, I hear about things today, he lost all hope. Mm-hmm. He lost all opportunity. There is no, once this world started to cave in on him, you as a leader have to provide that hope and opportunity. Everybody wants to go be president of a company. Okay, what if that's not heading that direction? Well, I want to be a professional athlete. Okay, but the leader's got to provide opportunities and hope, and that's not easy to do.
No. As I'm listening to that, I and knowing you like I do and the work that we've done together, it's about developing the whole person, not just the athlete. It's not just teaching football skills. It's teaching behavior skills, life skills. Real Life Wednesday, you initiated at Ohio State football because you wanted to develop the entire athlete. And irrespective of what happened in their athletic career, you wanted to equip them for a life, wherever they chose to go, where they could be successful. And that hope and opportunity needs to be cultivated.
Absolutely.
It's not something you just say. It's something that we as leaders have to do. And it begins with we define leadership as number one. You have to build the right kind of relationship with the people that you lead. You have to build that trusting relationship. We always say you can only push people as far as the level of trust you've built with them.
Absolutely.
And if we're going to instill or inspire or help people grasp a hold of hope and opportunity for their life, number one, we have to build a relationship with them. Agreed on that first one?
Absolutely.
If I proclaim and I teach and I push hope and opportunity, but the people that I lead, I don't have a trusting relationship with them, it's going to be very difficult to instill or help them pursue hope and opportunity. And I think that's number one, and interested in your thoughts, that the first thing that happens in hope and opportunity is there's trust. There's a relationship there. And I see so many people today in leadership who have missed the trust piece. They think it's all about pushing hard, which, yes, you and I agree, that's part of it. But I'll say it again, you can only push people as far as a level of trust that you built with them. Old saying, but true. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's great. And you know me well enough, I agree 100%.
Yep.
And so often as we all fall victim to, the target is the final score on the scoreboard, instead of, like you like to say, the process. So another great story for the audience. This is incredible when you think about this. So we get hired at Utah. And Utah, for the listener, it's one of the most diverse places in America. I'm not sure people realize that. You have everything there, every culture. And there's this one culture called the Polynesian kids. And they're actually Polynesian. It's not the third generation. It's first generation Polynesian kids.
American Samoa. And
Tonga, Samoa.
Yep.
The islands, the North Shore of Hawaii. Incredible culture, by the way. You talk about the family unit is real out there. And so we get there, and one of the biggest problems in 2003 are these kids come. There's, the big Polynesian kids that are 250 pounds that can run 350 pounds, and their dream is to go play NFL. And they can barely speak. They have a hard time functioning on a campus just because it's all new to them. And one of the issues that we were dealing with nonstop was the Polynesian gangs in Salt Lake City. And I couldn't understand that. So I have this guy named Hiram DeFries, who's a very successful Polynesian attorney and businessman. He's on my staff. And we started Real Life Wednesdays without knowing we really started Real Life Wednesdays. We started to have these kids every Tuesday or Wednesday night We'd feed them, and they come in. We teach them how to communicate with professors. Because in the Polynesian culture, in Tonga and Samoa, it's a sign of disrespect to look your leaders in the eye. Think about that. And so it's just a completely different culture over here. So instead of washing your hands with it, we got knee deep in it. So here we take these Polynesian kids that we start to equip them with the tools necessary to still have hope and opportunity if their ultimate goal disappears for some reason, like how hard it is to make it in the NFL. And the transformation just in a year of these kids because as you said, everybody visualize this, there's going to be hope and opportunities. There's hope and opportunity in the right way, hope and opportunity in the wrong way, which is gangs and lost in the streets. And the third one is once it's extinguished, horrific things happen.
Despair.
Go
back to that, Rob. I want you to repeat that again, because we talked about this before, and I think this is something that's worthy of deep thought for everyone. And I thought it was a very profound notion that we talked about. There's good hope and opportunity.
Absolutely. And that's the responsibility of a leader to provide that.
Yeah. Then there's pseudo hope and opportunity, which is finding it in the wrong place with the wrong people.
Once the good one's extinguished for some reason, they're going to go somewhere else.
And I would call it can be seductive. There's gravitational pull because the pseudo hope and opportunity offers attractive lies.
Yeah, streets.
Come do this. Here's the easy way. It feels good. Do this, and then when those two are gone, you get this third one, which is despair, and that's when the really bad stuff happens in someone's life.
That's right. So back to the Polynesian kids, Tim. So here's a group of kids that we now educate. We fill a toolbox with. Now I can. I want to maybe when you say now, I want to get into this whole goals and objective thing that I think I have a very strong opinion of. About intrinsic versus extrinsic, about attainable versus abstract. I want to get into that because I think this is when I really started to sink my teeth in this about 4 weeks ago when a coach, a dear friend of mine, got into it about goals and objectives because I don't think, I know, that completely correlates with hope and opportunity. When you start setting unattainable, abstract goals, that's when you see people start to cave in.
I'm listening. You and I talked ahead of time. I've written down 5 words that I think describe this journey we're talking about, and here they are. And let me see if you agree with these: engage, envision, equip, execute, and encourage. Let me give you my thoughts for each of those 5. Number 1, you have to engage the people that you lead. You got to love them. You got to care about them. You got to build trust with them. You got to spend time with them. That's engage. And nothing happens until you engage. Then number 2, you envision. You begin to carve out what's the hope, what's the opportunity. And there's a big picture to that, and there's a small picture to that, right? There's the zoom in, there's a zoom out. The bigger picture of what's possible, and then what do I need to do today? The envisionment is, and I think this is big, what work is required for you to be hopeful and to maximize the opportunity. Hope and opportunity to be achieved requires hard work every day over time. Agreed?
Yeah, and what I like about Envision, you're forcing that person to
think.
Tell us your vision.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what I think.
Love it.
Yeah.
What do you envision for your life? What's possible? And then what work is responsible? What work is required to achieve that? Number 3, equip them to do that work.
Right.
The work requires skill.
And that's where leaders fail.
Yeah. And I asked this, I was with a school, Madeira Schools, yesterday. And I said this to I did an assembly for middle schoolers, I did an assembly for the high schoolers, and I did an assembly for parents. 3 different ones. And I asked this question: what is your plan for building the skills that you need for the life that you want? And I repeated myself several times. What is the plan you have to build the skills you need for the life that you want? And that's the equipping part. Then number 4, there's execute. You got to go do it. You got to go do it. And it's the job of the coach, of the leader, of the supervisor, of the manager, of the teacher to oversee and give feedback to and help people execute the plan. Do the skills, get better at the skills, take the action, get better at the action, pursue the vision day by day by day by day. Execution, as long as is necessary. And to your point, not just for football, not just for whatever the sport is, but for the other stuff in life. And then here's the 5th piece, and I think this is real big, and that is encourage. Along the way, people need to be encouraged. And I don't know if our listeners know this, but the word encourage is literally Latin for to give strength of heart to someone else. Or to use your language, Urban, to give hope to other people. To inject into the human heart the belief, the strength of heart, the inspiration, if you will, the intrinsic desire that's required to do this work. So those are my 5 words. Engage, envision, equip, execute, encourage. Make sense?
Absolutely, and I 100% agreement. Let's dive into you okay to dive into this goal thing? Because I think this will provide a lot of clarity to what really set this off with me, and that is that. So I spoke to a football team this summer. They're just coming off probably the best year this team's ever had. It's mid-major, and they had a great year. And you could tell in training camp you're around those great teams with expectations that are probably too high, which is fine. We've all had those. And the coach sat down with them like they always do, and they started discussing goals. And backtrack a little bit, when I was at Notre Dame as assistant coach, I remember Lou Holtz was there, and every year we'd put our goals together, like Coaching 101. You always, what are your goals for the season? Every year it was win a national title. And I was there for 5 years. I knew a couple teams were pretty good, but I knew a couple of them had no chance. Yet they always put that as a goal because you had to. They felt like an obligation. If you didn't put that, then why not? And so it was an unattainable, abstract goal. And extrinsic is the term that we like to use. And I would notice that if we would start, we'd lose a couple games, we had a hard time motivating the team because basically their hope and opportunity for that season was gone to win a national title. So to get them to practice, and so that was back when I determined where I was going to become a head coach. I would never talk about extrinsic, unattainable, abstract goals because once you lose that, you lose it. And I witnessed it firsthand. So back to the team I spoke to this summer. Great, high expectations. And so they're having a really bad year. And the coach calls me about a month ago and said, I'm in a bad place. And this is a highly motivated team. This is highly motivated individuals. And he's having a hard time to get them to practice hard because they feel like they lost all hope and opportunity for the season. For example, the goals were finish in the top 15 of the country. They're probably never going to do that. Go to a major bowl game, probably never going to do that. Top 15 of the country, major bowl game. All these goals, beat some team that there's really, you can't beat this team unless, it's lightning in a bottle, something happens. And here he calls me up and he says exactly like this. He goes, Coach, I've studied you for a long time. And he goes, you never do goals. You don't believe in goals. And I said, that's not exactly true, but I don't believe in you'll never hear Ohio State or Florida talk about the national championship, ever. If I ever hear that from a coach or a player, I end it.
Yep.
Because that's too abstract. What about injuries? What about a committee that maybe doesn't feel like you earned it, but last 2 years we didn't get in there because of committee.
Too many variables.
Yeah, there's too many variables. And once you start saying if you lose a game, will they keep playing? And that's to me an extrinsic, unattainable goal. However, the goal at Ohio State was always maximize who we are. That's an intrinsic. That's inside. I can hold on to something. And 9 strong. That's something we can control. And it's a little bit like, imagine this, that the human spirit needs something to hold on to. This is deep. I want everybody to listen. The human spirit needs something to hold on to. If you're a Christian, it's your faith. And that faith, I just have this visual of 10 claws, all your 10 fingers into this piece of wood, and that's your faith. And you're in a storm. You're surviving, and everything is caving in on you, but what do you have left? Your faith. Imagine me ripping that out of your hands. A Christian loses his faith. What happens? Horrific. I mean, why? What else is there to live for? Okay, now, on a maybe lesser scale, but I don't think it's lesser, I want to be an NFL football player. I want to win a national championship, and I yank that out of your hands. For an 18-year-old, what is there? And that's where you see hope and opportunity in the right place goes to the wrong place, which that's gangs. That's I'm going to quit school. I'm going to screw this. I'm done. Or the third level, despair. And there's nowhere to turn. And nowadays, that's horrific news.
Yep. So
when I talked to this coach, he said as he's writing down these goals with the team, he's knowing we're not good enough to do this. However, you can't stop some young person, I want to be a doctor, but you're 2.2 GPA. You can't just stop them and say that's not going to happen. Once you get in these conversations with people, that's almost demoralizing. Now we got a whole other psychological issue. Now intrinsic, attainable, non-abstract goals to me is a job of a leader, and then also provide that hope and opportunity that it never leaves you. Once again, visualize that person holding on to that piece of wood in a storm. It's called his faith. Maybe it's called his family. Maybe it's called my career after football. I'm hold on that. What happens when you rip that away from someone? The good thing about your faith, you should never lose that. You can't rip that from me. What about if I'm really well educated and I have an opportunity to go have a nice life and be sustainable? You can't take that from me. And that's why when I talk to our football teams, we had some of our greatest games became after terrible losses, because I really believe our coaches and our leaders believe that we have attainable goals. What's the goal at Ohio State football? Maximize who you are. It's not win the national title. Even the year we won the national title, as Dave brought up a minute ago, we never talked about that because that's an overwhelming obstacle. Even when we're getting ready to play Oregon, I never talked about national title. I said beat Oregon, because you can beat Oregon. If you start talking 18-year-olds about winning a national title, that's at times overwhelming.
What's grabbing me about this is it goes back to something we discussed in an earlier episode, and it's something I teach almost every day as I'm out there doing this consulting and training work, and that is that I can't take action in the future to achieve my goals, and I can't take action in the past. Those moments, the future moments, aren't available to me to act in pursuit of my goals. Moments in the past are not available to me to act in pursuit of my goals. The only moment available to me to act in pursuit of my goals is the moment I'm in right now.
That's right.
And we call it win the moment. And I believe it's a leader's responsibility to help people understand the fundamental job is win the moment you're in now. Now, we have to understand, and I think you'd agree with this, there's an objective to winning the moment. The work I do today has a purpose. The work I do today has a goal that I want to at some point achieve, if possible. But what I need to do is, if my mind and my heart are distracted by the future or distracted by the past, I'm not going to give my heart, my energy, my attention to skill building and getting better right now, today, on the work that I have to do today. I always say you can't win the moment if you're not in the moment. And I see so many people today, Urban, who are, to your point, they're either frustrated about the past, fearful of the future, or they've lost even the hope of what they wanted to. They see the future as hopeless. As a consequence of that, they've stopped putting effort into the moment that they're in. Again, just to repeat that, they've lost the belief that there's something significant in the future that today's effort will produce, so they stop working in the moment. And I believe that athletics provide everyone with a fantastic metaphor for how success in life, meaningfulness in life is. Because I go back to you painted this picture of hands on wood, and the wood there is what, the side of the boat or an oar, or you painted this picture. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so there's an energetic, motivational notion of, and faith was the metaphor you used. And I share that Christian faith with you, and that is, yes, absolutely an anchor. But here's the thing about it. Skill is required also. The motivation and energy is required, but so is skill. There's a way to do that. Maybe get even more deep. There's a way to hold on. There's competency that's required. And you talk about losing faith. I'm going to add to that losing skill. This is why I put equip in this list of things we're talking about. Engage is one thing. Envision is one thing. Then there's work to be done, and work requires competency and skill. And you've seen this. As a player gains skill in his role, what happens to his confidence?
Increases.
What happens to his hope and opportunity?
Yeah. Swells.
See what happens? And if I don't get better, if I don't build skill, what happens to my confidence? It goes down. I see people today not doing the work to build skill, who are losing hope and losing belief in opportunity, and they just have to go back and say, there's stuff you got to do today, skillfully. Let me help you build that skill.
I want to hit this really hard. So I believe this is a societal, we all know this, common sense. I know this might sound political or whatever, but it's not. It's just this is in my mind, objective truth about human spirit. And that is that imagine so I told you about the Polynesian community. How about my hometown where I grew up in Northeast Ohio? The biggest issue there is opiates now. I can't believe that. I mean, it was booming, and we had industry. We had so much going on when I grew up. People had jobs. There was life. It was kind of a booming town. Once that industry left, they turned, you have hope and opportunity in that. Once that disappears, now your hope and opportunity goes into drugs, I guess, and then despair. And then you take a look at inner cities, and this is not a black-white conversation. This is not a Polynesian conversation. This is not Appalachia or Northeast Ohio conversation. This is a human spirit conversation. And this is where I think, our leaders, whether it be government leaders, whether it be educators, whether it be coaches, anybody in policemen, firemen, parents, anybody in leadership positions. The failure is when you start thinking a handout is given hope and opportunity. A handout does not do that. No, that's called charity, which is fantastic. Charity is a great thing. A handout is oppression. When if I give something to someone, they expect me to continue to give them. How about giving them hope and opportunity? What is that? Develop a skill set. Help them develop a skill set. Say, the Polynesian, imagine those Polynesian kids in Utah in 2003, if we said, we're going to pay for your scholarship and that's it. We didn't do that. We put in a plan in place with Hiram DeFries and said, we're going to teach you how to communicate with people. We're going to teach you how to not only survive, but thrive in this American culture. And imagine like the cities and these communities, and I go back to Northeast Ohio, the Polynesian kids, Appalachia, maybe people that are from tough backgrounds, and a handout does nothing but oppress them. Charity's fantastic. I want to make that clear. Charity, absolutely.
There are people who need our help, and we should help them.
And you give it to them. Absolutely. That's called charity.
Yep.
But then it's also the government's opportunity, a teacher's opportunity, a coach's opportunity, not only opportunity, but to me, that's their job, is to provide them with hope and opportunity. And handouts do not do that. No. What gives them hope and opportunity? I'm going to develop a skill set, young man, that you're going to be able to go into a bank and get a job.
Yep.
I'm going to develop a skill set that you can become sell cars on a lot of a car dealership so you can provide for your family. And that's what the job of a leader is. And why did Ohio State go from 1 out of 3 leaving and never being sought again to very few now? Because that program now, with the help of everybody, it provides them hope and opportunity outside of their maybe unattainable. I want to be a first-round draft pick. Well, fantastic. I want you to be a first-round draft pick too. Do you realize how hard that is? Okay, let's get we call it the plan B. Let's get your plan B going though. And then all of a sudden that becomes unrealistic. I still have my hope and opportunity, and that's plan B.
I'm going to add then, I got it. Picture's clear. Let me go back over the 5 words that I use, the 5 action steps a leader can take, and then talk about a 6th that you just said don't do. So we want leaders to engage with their folks, envision the future and the path and the work necessary to get there, equip with the skills to do the work, go execute those skills, go execute that plan, and encourage, give strength of heart to people along the way. What I heard you say, let's not enable.
You can't.
What if every leader in America, government, starting with government, there was a plan, there was a commitment. We're going to engage people, we're going to envision with people, we're going to equip people, we're going to execute, and we're going to, in the real world, by the way, not a fake world, not a pseudo world, not a world of false hopes, not a world of handouts and giveaways, but in the real world. And again, part of what the work you and I do all the time with people is, along the way, doing this work we're talking about, hope and opportunity, it's going to be hard. Bad things are going to happen. We call it the edge.
And we're not going to give up on you, but we're going to hold you accountable.
We're going to hold you accountable. So when you come to this obstacle, when you come to this difficulty, and some of the battles are external and some of the battles are internal, we're going to equip you for that. And we're going to encourage you to do that. We're going to be with you. We're going to stay engaged with you. But understand something. It's going to be hard. To get from here to there, there's a lot of hard work. And we're here for you. What if we did that?
And how about
instead
this?
Of enabling people?
How about this? How about reward them for the hard work?
There you go.
That's what America's built on. We're going to teach you a skill. You're going to work really hard, and you're going to be rewarded for it. That's like what you do with little kids on a baseball team. As you talk, it's such common sense. Why is it that hard, Tim? Why? I guess I can answer that question because you get caught up in other things. You get caught up in the scoreboard. I'm guilty of that. You get caught up in, what the media says, whatever. I get that. And the government officials, who I've actually become friends with them, a lot of them, and since I retired from coaching, is why is it so hard to understand that equipping, educating, and giving them a hope and a future is what people want. People want that. Is there very few that maybe don't? Yes. Okay. There's all walks of life. But isn't that the ultimate? I'm telling you it is. And I'll fight anybody in this now. It's the ultimate job of a leader to provide hope and opportunity. Not to provide. Now, charity's great. I think we got to push back on that one more and make you understand. Yes, it's in the Bible. You are to give to those who need it. Absolutely. But you want to really give to those who need? Provide hope and opportunity. And watch what happens. Watch that person get up in the morning because they know they have a skill set that they can go attack the day. And I like to say this, not just survive, thrive. We're going to help you. Survive is I'm going to give you a shirt. Thrive means I'm going to develop a skill set that you can go attack the world and go raise a family and do all the right things.
That's such a powerful vision that we've painted here, and it's all about the journey. And everybody's got. I always view life. I'm a big fan of literature, and I love the hero's journey, the story template that great storytellers and writers have used. And life is, and the reason you see the journey all the time in literature is because life is a journey. And I think what you described and what we're talking about here in this episode is helping people get on their journey, helping people, equipping them to be on that journey. And there's, you think about any good journey, there's valleys to cross, there's deserts, there's dragons to be slain, there's treasure to be won, there's battles to be fought. That's life's journey. And no one is exempt from that stuff. Bridges to cross, storms to navigate through. You got to navigate, you got to find your way. What if we painted that picture and we embraced everybody? All right, let's go. What journey do you want to go on? Let's help you find your journey.
And hold you accountable.
Hope and opportunity. Yeah. And hold you accountable to it and equip you and love you and support you. And let's go.
One thing to add before we close here is that I get asked, you can imagine, all the young coaches, I'll get emails constantly about, hey, what's the secret to, we've had very good success. And I'm not talking about the false narratives or fake news that's out there, because we've seen that about, maybe myself or programs, whatever. We're not talking about the fake news. I'm talking about the real news. Mm-hmm. What makes a great coach or a great leader, a great teacher? Think about the best teachers you've had. What makes the greatest politicians that I've been witnessing? What makes them? And it's true care for those you're working with. I mean like care. Mm-hmm. And as you always said, you don't get measured by your intentions, you get measured by your actions. You want to be a great coach. Care deeply for the people. Care deeply, regardless of what the media tells you. Remember, I've had people tell me, make an example of that player. And I wanted to choke the person and said, do you realize that's someone's son? Mm-hmm. You're talking about making an example of that person? No, let's try to help this person so he can not only survive but thrive. And so once again, what's the ultimate job of a leader? Provide hope and opportunity. And what's not the false narratives out there, but what makes a great coach, what makes a great teacher? What are they willing to do to provide you that hope and opportunity? What skills are they going to teach you, hold you accountable, love you, push you, grind you to the point where I can survive and thrive?
Yep, I love it. Well, we're going to wrap this up. This is phenomenal. I don't think we're finished.
I can't wait to hear the feedback on this one.
Yeah, I don't think we're finished with this conversation. I think we're going to revisit this definitely, probably more than once. Folks, if you want to get a hold of us, our website is focus3.com. And cool stuff. We're going to be coming out with some new things in 2020 for our website. Really encourage you to go visit and discover us. You can find me on Twitter at Timothy Kight, K-I-G-H-T. Would love to have you follow. You can directly email me. My email address is Tim at focus3.com. Love to hear from you. Tim at focus3.com. Coach, what is your Twitter handle?
I have no idea.
Dave, can we help Coach Meyer with his Twitter handle?
At Coach Urban Meyer.
So, yes, let me give you how to reach Coach Meyer at
Coach Urban
Now,
Meyer.
why do I want people reaching me? What's going to happen with this?
At Coach Urban Meyer, and that's how you can reach him via Twitter. And we would love to have you guys follow, and you'll find good stuff coming out. Fantastic message today for all of us. I know my mind is racing, my heart is beating. We want you to be the kind of a leader that engages hearts and minds, that envisions what's possible for hope and opportunity, equips people for that journey, help people execute that journey, and encourage them along the way. Go do the work.